Oh, there he is.
Francis Grimm.
Oh, don't ever call me that. The name is Chainsaw.
As in Black and Decker?
As in Texas Massacre.
Oh, yeah, that's in here.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Deluxe Edition. You know, one day, Casey, I say to myself all the time, I've got to come up with another thing. I just say the same thing every time. But I only think about changing it just now when I say it. Welcome to another edition of Deluxe Edition. It's me, Bill Seabold, and Casey Shearer. As always, digging deep into pop culture. Casey is blowing out his smoke. He is ready to go because today we have a pretty cool interview. We're talking to Dean Cameron today. Casey, who is Dean Cameron?
Dean Cameron was in a lot of 80s movies. We all know him from Ski School, Summer School. We got to get into it. He must be pretty good friends with Mark Harmon because he seems to be in a lot of Mark Harmon films.
Yeah, maybe he is. I know I've seen an interview with him before, and I remember him saying, like, I was nervous about getting that Summer School job because I was going to get to work with Mark Harmon, who I was a fan of. And I was like, I discovered Mark Harmon in Summer School. But so I didn't know he did anything before that.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, Dean Cameron, he's got one of the, he's like a face you remember from the 80s. You know, he's got a very unique look that's all his. And he's one of those people that I remember, like, he would pop up in things. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the dude from Summer School. He's fucking fun. And since I was a kid, you know, an 80s kid loving horror movies, his role in Summer School is my favorite. Absolutely. Because his name is Chainsaw in the movie. And he's a big fan. Him and his buddy in the movie are big fans of like horror movies, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all that stuff. And I remember when it came out, because I was a big fan of the gore. It had one of the goriest scenes that I've ever seen in Summer School. Like, it was really gory. I'm like, this is supposed to be a comedy. Why is this grossing me out so much? They were really into like making special effects, horror effects, and they pranked a incoming teacher with like a death scene, and it was really funny. There's a million great lines in that Summer School movie.
You said kill! We're psychopaths!
Here's I know it's gonna shock you and everyone else. I've never seen it yet. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. I probably have seen it, but when I was a kid and I don't remember it.
So it was a Carl Reiner movie. So if you're familiar with Carl Reiner, he did a whole bunch of Steve Martin movies. So he was like starting to become this banner name. And then suddenly, you know, Summer School comes out. It's just another great home run from Carl Reiner. Yeah, this one you gotta get caught up on this one.
Oh yeah, it's on the list, man. There's so much, you know, all the episodes that we've been doing. There's so much on my list to watch. I went back and I watched Ski School. That's a classic. And then, of course, the episode that everybody remembers from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he plays like a spoof of his character on Always Sunny. When they go to the ski school, they hit the slopes. I think it's called The Gang Hits the Slopes.
We are in the middle of a prank war with Frank and Dennis.
Yeah. All right, nice. What's the prank?
We're drilling a hole in the women's shower so we can look at them naked.
I kind of don't get how spying on naked, unaware women is a prank at all.
Me either.
Well, the real prank is when I jam my dick through that hole and yell, "Special delivery!"
Oh, dude, I don't think so.
You can't do that, man. You get a lot of trouble for something.
That's the one. Oh yeah. He put his long hair wig on, and yeah, he's doing like sex comedy jokes in Always Sunny, and everyone's like, "Oh, this doesn't play anymore. What are you doing?" That's a good show. That's right. I forgot he was on that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's been in a lot of things. Like just looking at his IMDb, he's got almost 100 different credits on there. So he's still working. I mean, he was iconic in the 80s, but he's still doing stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think he's ever stopped acting. Maybe this year or last year because of the fucking pandemic, but
Yeah. Well, it'll be great to catch up with him and see what's going on with him now.
absolutely.
I actually see we have a guest in our room, so
All
I
right.
guess it's that time.
Sounds good.
Hey, Dean, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's a real pleasure to have you here. You look great.
I do what I can. Well, you should see me from down all the way down is really bad though.
Oh, that's totally changed.
But from here to here, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
It's definitely unusual not to see you with long hair, since everything I've ever seen you in had, long hair.
Wow. So okay. Well, so you stopped watching in the 90s?
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm trapped in the 80s. And we were saying earlier, right before you came on, it's like you're one of those iconic faces. Like you're absolutely instantly recognized. And I always associate you with not even just like your most popular roles, but you just, when you pop up, I'm like, oh yeah, like you're just like the face that I recognize. And it's just one of those really cool things. You're one of those kind of people that it's like, I see you and it warms my heart. So
good. Mission accomplished.
Really great to have you on. One of the things I didn't know about you, I was looking it up, and sometimes IMDb is wrong and Wikipedia and all those things is wrong. But you played in the LA music scene.
Yeah, minorly, yes. I mean, although the band I ultimately was in, we got a record out, so that was cool. But yeah, I was sort of kicking around there.
Weren't some of the guys Steel Panther guys now?
Yeah, two of them. Well, three of them actually, because I replaced the bass player left, but he's now the bass player in Steel Panther because the drummer, guitar player, and bass player were all this band, and then when the bass player left, I joined.
Okay, well, how come you didn't stay with the music? Was it just something you were just filling in and wasn't in your heart?
No, I loved it, and I mean, I continue to play. I play in a karaoke band, or I did until we couldn't go anywhere, but. No, the record came out. It didn't do very well, and then Steel Panther took off for those guys, and follow the money. So, yeah. And now no one wants to see a 58-year-old in a rock band.
Well, isn't Steel Panther probably 58?
Yeah, but that's different because there are in a new rock band. Yeah.
Do you still? I mean, are you a good player, or were you just Yeah. So you're passionate about music then?
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, I play in this a karaoke band. We know 150 songs and people come up and you sing and we've got the lyrics scrolling on the screen and the whole thing. So, yeah.
Really? That's awesome. So what do you get recognized most for?
It depends on who it is. The guys your age, summer school or ski school. Younger people, it's often Noah Baumbach stuff or this movie I did called Sleep With Me. And then, that's it.
That's awesome. I was thinking about like the stuff you went through a period where it was like 80s sex comedy was kind of like a thing. Like I grew up on 80s sex comedies and you were in pretty much two of the biggest ones that I remember as a kid. What a different time it is now. Like, do you ever look at some of those and go, yikes, these don't play now? And I mean, it's a different time, but I sometimes look at the stuff that I used to like and I go, oof.
They sort of deconstructed it. I did an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, they deconstructed all that stuff really nicely. And I call that episode Ski School 3 because it was a really perfect episode. I don't know. I think like summer school and certainly ski school were fairly guileless as far as, the acceptable rape that was going on in a lot of the 80s sex comedies, But I think it wasn't too bad, So.
I can only imagine you're starting a job and I've never acted in my life. So I'm always fascinated with the way that, movie productions are put together, but I got to think you're going to a job and Carl Reiner is your boss. And I can only imagine because I was a kid, I really didn't understand the scope of Hollywood and all that and who Carl Reiner was, but he had just done a ton of Steve Martin movies. And now you have to go work for Carl Reiner. I think that would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, I was just talking about this with Richard Horvitz, who was also in summer school. And when you are young, when you decide that you're going to be an actor, what you're saying is, I'm so awesome, I can be a movie star, and I want people to see me 40 feet big in a theater and pay whatever money to go see me. So I've never been intimidated working with anybody because of this sort of bluster that you have to be stupid enough to try to be in movies and TV. So at the point where I was able to work with Carl Reiner, I mean, obviously he's was a legend and I had nothing but respect for him. But it's like, there's so much that goes on in making a movie. It's like any job. You got to get stuff done and you don't have time to mess around. And if you do mess around, it screws everybody up. So being a professional, you just get the job done. And Carl Reiner is your director, or Chuckles Griffith is your director, or who knows who is your director. That's how it is. And you just have to deal with it as it comes. So it was great. The fun stuff about Carl was he would, he'd be talking about his friends. And I'd think, oh, he's talking about Dick Van Dyke right now, or he's talking about Mel Brooks. This is really cool. Or Steve. Yeah, I did this movie with my friend Steve, and okay, you're talking about The Jerk. Is that you talking? So it's really a weird thing to see, and stuff I'd seen when I was a little kid, in high school and before. So it was really neat working with him.
Yeah, I mean that must be something. That must be just something else.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like about you in summer school is, and tell me if you think I'm insane, but when you're on screen, you have a lot of charisma. And I'm not sure how young you were when I started seeing you in like 85, but you're just instantly likable. Carl Reiner, whenever you see him, even when he's on film, he's instantly likable.
Yeah.
What is it that you think helped you get the roles that you get? And do you think it might be that you have something a little bit more charismatic than other actors?
I don't know, man. Just lucky. I mean, you look back and you realize how lucky you were to do what you did. And who knows?
I heard a lot of it was improv. Were you pretty good at improv?
Carl Reiner let me and Gary do a little improv, but the script was great. I mean, the script was fantastic. So a lot of that was just speak the speech I pray, as William Shakespeare said. Just saying the lines, doing it.
Yeah. The thing I think I remember the most about it was that horror scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just being I guess I was 14 when it came out, I guess. And like, I just remember everybody talking about it, and Fangoria magazines were popular, and Chainsaw Massacre was popular. So here comes a guy named Chainsaw. The movie review you do of the Chainsaw Massacre is hysterical. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I heard you made that up.
No.
Or was that written? Oh, I know what
that was. It was all written. Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be Chainsaw Massacre. I heard it was supposed to be.
No, it was supposed to be Freaks, the Todd Browning Freaks, and which was because the original script was a little darker, the kids in the class were a little scarier, and Freaks, there was this nice parallel between the class and the movie Freaks that we liked so much. But Carl Reiner screened Freaks at Paramount, so we could see it. I'd seen it, and the movie ended, and Carl Reiner was, I'm not putting that fucking movie in my movie. Like, okay. I don't know if he's dropped the F-bomb, but
it's okay.
He got the point.
Yeah. That is a frightful movie.
It is weird. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, tell me a little about your Hollywood experiences. Maybe was there any kind of roles that you were trying to get that you didn't get? Have you ever seen, here's a question, maybe you don't want to answer it. Have you ever seen a role go to another actor and you still look at it and go, damn it, that could have been mine? Is there any like ones that got away for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, any movie in the 80s I read for. So I've said this a lot before, but David Lee Roth has a great quote. He said, I don't get all the women I want. I get all the women who want me. And it's the same with acting, is you're just there. And if you get the part, awesome, but generally you don't. But yeah, the Brat Pack, all the Brat Pack movies, any movie in the 80s, all sorts of stuff in the 90s. Yeah, Friends, saying almost anything. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like, you lose more jobs than you get.
So it's a job full of rejection. I mean, you got to be pretty strong, I guess, to be able to take that rejection.
Yeah, and it was interesting because once, I stopped for about 10 years and I was working as a programmer, and I did great in interviews because I've been in so many rooms with people who could hire or fire me, like, a few times a day sometimes. So, I do job interviews, and the last two programming jobs I had, I was completely unqualified for, but they just liked me so much that they hired me. But I would just sit there and I don't know what to do. And they're like, don't worry about it. It's ridiculous. If you wonder why Ticketmaster prices are so high.
What? So programming, was it just kind of want to, try some other things outside of acting? I want to just get into IT.
I call it the great career crash of 1995 happened, and I just wasn't working and I was broke. I ended up going to Vegas and working as a magician in this show at Caesar's Palace for 6 months. I got back, and a friend of mine was in 1998, a friend of mine was developing this web service. Somebody told me to learn HTML. So I got a HTML book, learned HTML. A friend needed some help doing the front end. So I did that. And then I ended up working at applying for a games company. I got this, cutting out a big part. Pat Laberto, who was also in summer school, he and I had written this feature film, and we gotten it made. And it was great. And it was a great experience. Movie's pretty good, a couple of years too late. But my agents, my managers didn't come to the set. They didn't come to the screening. And for years, they've been telling me, you need to write something for yourself. So, because that's what people are doing now. So Pat and I did. And it didn't seem to matter. And I was like, well, screw this business and screw it. I got this really good paying job at a games company and liked doing that. And because there was a nice continuity, the amount of work you put in was equal to the amount that came back, which was completely different from showbiz. So that was nice. And also I was in charge of what I was doing, and there was direct correlation to my work and getting money. And so that was nice for quite a while until I realized I didn't like doing it. So,
yeah. Oh.
But along there, I still worked. I did some stuff. I'd get offers. I had a nice voiceover career for a while in the 2000s, and I always think it was good for me, but I don't know. Life's life. So,
I mean, it seems cyclical. I mean, most actors have a run. I mean, very few kind of do it forever. When you look back at your career, how do you feel about it? Was it what you were trying to do, or were you trying to be Tom Cruise?
I mean, you enter the business going, I'm going to be a big movie star. That's the goal. Pretty early on, though, I realized that I just wanted to work and be a character actor. And I modeled myself more like Dustin Hoffman, that type of career, like some cool stuff, and then just neat parts. So it's a strange thing looking back on a career, because I look back and I see all the disappointments and all the jobs I didn't get. But I also, over time, have developed this perspective of like stuff like, these podcasts, and I get really nice letters and stuff. So it's sort of made peace with the failures I had, or the rejection I had, the disappointments. But it's a weird thing. It's life. I'm almost 60, and I got to carry some movies, and that was a big goal. I was number one on the call sheet and one on the thing, and that's cool. And Rockula, Ski School, whatever the movies were, but I did that. So that's a nice thing and a nice legacy, I guess. And people still like those movies. And there are a lot of movies that were made that were bigger at the time that nobody talks about or cares about. So it's cool.
Oh yeah, that does. Like you just said, Rockula. Like I remember that movie, and I'm not sure it's one that lasted, but it was definitely one that I remember, and it made a big impression at the time. So
yeah.
And I didn't mean to be bringing up like negative things, like which one's got away. Because I look at your career, I'm like, wow, that looks like a grand slam, because to me you're iconic. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the perspective that I've sort of grown into with old age. But and Rockula is a rabid fan base out there who just freak out for Rockula. So
really? That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sitting here asking, do you play music? Well, yeah, you're a singer. You're clearly a musician. Forgot.
I'm not singing, so good. Yeah. But I started doing musical theaters when I was a kid. So.
Oh, really? Is that how you got the acting bug? Was it through musical theater? Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know our listeners have a ton of questions, so I'm going to pass it over to Casey.
All right. Yeah, actually, I have a couple questions myself. So you said you have like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder because of, getting these gigs and everything early in your career. Is this something you always wanted to do? Be an actor?
Oh yeah, from about when I was 6, I did a
Really?
play with my dad, and I got better reviews than anyone, and I needed to crave attention. So it's like, I try to be in movies.
Have you ever met a shy actor? I don't think I ever have. You just said crave attention.
No, I'm incredibly shy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not good in crowds and with people. And once you get to know me, yeah, but I won't stop talking. But yeah, I
Nice,
and I know a
nice.
lot of real shy introverted actors. Yeah,
Really? That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a cross section of humanity. I think it's probably true in any profession.
Sure. Yeah. It's not like you could avoid it in one profession. It's
Yeah.
half the people are that way. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's something I've heard about of quite a few actors that they're. I'm the same way. I know Bill's a people person. He was begging me to go out the other night. No thanks. All right, so I have one more question. So we interviewed Tommy McLaughlin from director of Friday the 13th fame, but
Oh right, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which you guys, that was a job I really, 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 really wanted.
you really wanted to be in that?
Nearly begged them. to put me
Really?
in it. Yeah.
You were going after the lead role then, I bet.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah,
Oh, you would have been amazing in that.
I would have been amazing in that. I know.
Okay. How did you not get that? I mean, you already had, fame and credibility and
I was.
fans.
Yeah, I don't know.
You asked too much
them.
money.
No.
What else could it be? Wow.
That other guy was better. Did a better audition. Yeah.
So it really comes down to the audition. Do you ever just get a job because somebody says,
No, there's so much that is completely out of your control. I did a series once, and the showrunner was telling me that the lead they wanted, who was approved by the network and all those, because they have a list, and each network has a list of people that they'll Patrick Dempsey and whoever, Dylan McDermott, and so they have this list. They go, if you cast one of these guys, you can do your show. So they had this person on the list, and the network didn't approve him because one of the executives' wives had directed a movie, like a TV movie with this actor, and it was a dumb TV movie that he was obviously doing just to make the money, and she didn't like him. So he didn't get this job. So there's all this stuff. You might look like someone that reminds someone of someone they didn't like, or you might be taller or too short, or who knows, man. So there's so many variables to getting a job. Being good in the audition, that really helps a lot, but it's not everything.
yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
I'm sorry, but I interrupted you with your question.
No, all good. Yeah, we talked to Tommy McLaughlin. I have a question before we get into the fan questions. You were in a show called They Came from Outer Space.
Yeah, that Tommy developed. Yeah,
He created it, right?
yeah.
How involved was he with the show? Well, I haven't ever seen the show and I can't find it anywhere. So
I think there's a couple episodes on YouTube.
okay.
Pirated. He developed a show. I think there was a power struggle, and they sort of pushed him out after a few episodes, and these other people took the show over. Don't know. Seemed political. Don't know. Just happy to be working. But I always like Tommy, and I still say hi to him occasionally. So
Yeah, Tommy's a great guy.
that means online.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he may be doing another Friday the 13th. I heard.
He wants to. He's
He's
jockeying
to
for
get
it.
done.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. We're looking forward to that. So, all right, we're gonna try this here with Michael. He's in our waiting room and our patron. We'll let him ask his fan question here.
Hey, Michael.
Hey,
Michael, how are you, bud?
good. How are you?
So Michael is our patron from Patreon. If you go over to patreon.com/deluxe edition pod, you can sign up and ask guest a question. So go ahead, Michael.
I know you were on Alf, and I'm just kind of curious what it was like to be on the show Alf and what it was like to work across from a puppet.
I'll give you a short answer, but I wrote a very long essay about my experience on Alf. That was it's pretty funny. It's on deancameron.com. Well, first of all, you got a sheet and it said, don't call it puppet, call it Alf. I did 3 episodes of it. I was doing night reshoots for Men at Work at night. And so I was completely exhausted. And my girlfriend was moving out at the time. And it was a bad time for me. And I was doing Alf, which I was not really thrilled about. But everyone was very nice. I've one of my favorite showbiz stories is from Alf, which is on deancameron.com blog. It's pretty funny, but it was a good time. And, I was on Alf, so that was cool.
Robert, remember that discussion we had about us living together?
Mm-hmm.
This would be a good time for me.
Oh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
But fun fact, I played this mime and I had this sort of mime jumpsuit in one of the scenes, and inside of it, because of all the clothes, all the studios recycle all their clothes from show to show. It was Sonny Bono's jumpsuit from the Sonny and Cher show. So
pretty cool.
Have you ever seen, speaking of things floating around on YouTube, I guess there are some outtakes from that show that are not safe for work today. And if you know what I'm talking about, anybody else can YouTube it, but was it a toxic set? I've always heard that it was a little bit like people didn't like each other. And
well, the thing about Alf was, on live shows, you get a script on Monday, you rehearse it, and then you shoot it on either Thursday or Friday. Alf shot 2 days because of the trenches for Alf. But on Monday, there would be this amazing, hilarious script where everybody was funny and it was clever. And by tape day, Alf had all the good lines and everyone else was just an idiot. And after 3 weeks, I wanted to put a bullet through my head. I can only imagine how it was like working on that show for 5 years. So,
wow.
It was a little demoralizing, but the cast was fine with each other. The one story I had, there was an argument, but it all made sense. And but everyone was very nice. And Andrea, who played the daughter, ended up working on They Came from Outer Space a couple of years later. So,
nice.
It was nice. It was, but no, it was not toxic. I've been on toxic sets. This was not a toxic set. It was just people trying to get through it.
I think it's one of those things when I see like any movie when I was young, I felt like the production was 1 billion people. Yeah. And I was just like, how in the world can anything, any secrets be kept? But the more that we do our show, we kind of, find out that, sometimes these productions aren't great. Sometimes it's like anybody has a bad, gig. They're working at a place, whether it's working at McDonald's or somewhere else. Sometimes you just got a shitty situation. And it must be crazy to be like, let's pretend you said Alf is the worst thing ever. Like the rest of the world is just praising it. And you're secretly going, I'm one of only a few people who really know the train wreck behind the scenes. That's interesting to me.
Right. Yeah. And also, my first feature film, my first feature film was Summer School and working with Carl Reiner. And he would work from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. It's like, there's no need to kill yourself. We're just making movies. And it was the nicest set. It was the most relaxed set, greatest people. And it completely spoiled me for the last 39 years of working, But Alf was only a bad experience for me because of what was going on externally in my life.
Well, great question, Michael. I mean, we always dug some real good dirt out there. We good job.
But yeah, check out the essay because it involves this amazing day.
So thank you again, Michael, for your question. All right, and we'll get into the rest of them here. Robert Butz, an old friend of mine who was the love bug as a professional wrestler. He would like to know what was your take on playing Spicoli in the Fast Times TV series, And did you take anything from Sean Penn playing the character in the movie?
Yes. My take on it was, when they announced that they're going to make a series of Fast Times, everyone in town was thinking, who's the poor putz that's going to play Spicoli? What a thankless, horrible job that's going to be. And myself, I auditioning for it, and I'd only done one series before. Even while I was auditioning, I'm not going to do this. There's no way I'm going to do this job if I get it. I'm going to turn it down. And it was a 6-month process where I guess they brainwashed me into taking the job, but it was great because it put me on the map. It directly led to me doing summer school, which summer school led to just everything else in my career. And yeah, I'm sure I had to take something from Sean Penn. He was amazing. And, there's an expectation that character to be a certain way. So I had to do that. I tried to do my own take on it, but, whatever. Yeah.
And why you mentioned that during the audition process, you said that you told yourself if you were going to get the gig, you were going to turn it down. Why is that?
Because I didn't want to play Spicoli, the
okay.
TV version of Fast Times. It was a death sentence. I was wrong, but it could have been a really bad move. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I barely remember that show, but I do remember they made a TV version.
Yeah, it was only 7 episodes. It fulfilled its purpose for everybody involved, I think.
How does that go? So somebody owns the rights. They say, we're going to convert this into a TV show and keep on making a little bit of money off this brand. Or did they really expect it to be a series and continue on?
Yeah, of course they did. They were trying to make a sequel for a long time, and Sean Penn said he wouldn't do it. And so the next stupid thing to do is to make a TV series. And I think, with the characters in that show and even the source material, there's plenty of material there for a series. It was on CBS, which at the time was the Tiffany network, they skewed more towards older people. So there was a big push from the network. That's why it was called Fast Times, not Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was called Fast Times. And they hammered on the fact that it was about these kids and the adults in their life. So it wasn't just about teenagers. And it was on a weird night, and it was an expensive show to make. And also it was early mid 80s. You couldn't do, I couldn't be high. I just had to be happy or spacey. And I even remember there was I had a line where I said, it's a gift. The line was, it's a gift from God. And I couldn't say that. I had to say it's a gift from above. So TV was very different back then. There was a lot of stuff you couldn't do. And that movie didn't translate because the movie was raunchy and hard. And they really softened the edges of the series, which they had to do. And oh, well.
Yeah. Well, you said it was a death sentence. Meaning you knew the show wouldn't work out?
No. If I sucked at Spicoli, it would have been the last job I ever did.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
High expectations on you.
Yeah. Huge.
Isn't it crazy how different TV is today than it was back then?
Yeah, it's great. It's TV is great. Movies are horrible. It's weird, right?
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Mike Zellner Jr. He was actually the Love Bugs tag team partner back in our wrestling days.
You have a lot of wrestling fans. How about that?
How would he would like to know how much ad-libbing did you do in the movie Summer School? And it's one of his favorite movies ever. And I think you touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Well, you have very good taste if it's one of your favorite movies. That's good to know. There was a bit. I think, Have a Cow was ad-libbed. There's some good I got some good stuff in there. But yeah.
How do you know when you're going to get a role with a director who's going to let you ad-lib? I mean, is it reputation? Do you hear, this director is usually stick to the script, never play? That director is go ahead and be a little bit creative. Do you ever pick a movie based on that kind of thing from a director?
I don't pick a movie. I don't get to pick a movie. But you feel it out. And on TV, you can't ad-lib as much. They Came from Outer Space, we ad-libbed bunch. They would even write, they'll ad lib something here. But generally on TV now, it's really a writer's medium, writer-producer medium. So, and there's so much story that has to be done. So not a lot of ad libbing. Comedy is different because you really want to try to make it your own. And if you're a funny person, you can maybe gild the lily a bit. But the way I think you have to, if you're going to be an actor or someone who's going to ad lib on something, you got to place those first couple ad libs really good. You got to make them great, because if they don't, then they'll just say, why don't you stick to the script, because we're really trying to stick to the script on this. So if you knock it out of the park the first couple of times, they'll let you do it if it works. I mean, if it makes sense.
So you mentioned that sometimes in the script it will just say ad lib here. Were you like, did you go ahead?
In that show, they came from outer space.
Oh, okay.
Nothing else. Yeah.
All right. So were you like an improv? How does that work? Like, how do they know that you're going to be able to do that?
Yeah.
We would just ad lib stuff, and it was just me and this other guy. So after a while, they can't really, they're sort of over a barrel. And we were good. I mean, we were good at it. It was Stuart Fratkin was also in ski school, and we were funny. So fortunately, it worked out. I think if our ad libs were not funny, they wouldn't have let us go off as we did.
Sure.
And you don't, if you get the situation and the writing or the character, you can often express the character better than the writer or director or producers can, because you're living in it. The writer's taking care of all these characters, and you as the actor, you're just taking care of the one. So,
sure.
I mean, it's like, how do you know what to say every day? Just because you're you.
Right.
Will a writer be able to kind of step in and say, hey, he's not doing it the way I envisioned it?
Absolutely.
Are they usually hanging around the set like that?
Generally, sometimes, yeah. It depends on the project. TV, definitely. A lot of times on movies, they don't want the writer anywhere near them, which is unfortunate. It just varies project to project. And, myself, I always want whatever I'm doing to work for the piece. So if I'm ad libbing and they don't want me to, I won't, because I get it. I write, and I don't want someone messing up my script that I worked so hard on. But if it makes sense to ad lib, be ad lib, and they can use it or not. Yeah.
Do you do any stand-up comedy at all, or?
I did, and I'm was friends and am friends with a lot of stand-ups. I don't have the balls to do that. Those guys, it's a whole. I mean, the stand-ups, the people who are good at it, are the greatest people in the world. They work so hard at it for so long. You have to do 10 years, going out every night to open mics and doing 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. And guys that are good at it are just astonishing. I do the show. I corresponded with a Nigerian scammer for several years, and ended up getting a check from him for $3.50. And I turned it into a 2-person show, and we performed at the Edinburgh Comedy Festival 2 years in a row. And that festival it's lousy with stand-ups from all over the world. And these people are superhuman, the ones who are good at it. Just, they have nothing but respect for me, for them. So I've done some stand-up. It's gone okay, but I'm not a stand-up comedian.
That's funny that you say that, because I mean, I cannot say I'm any type of actor at all, but I was on a film set. I got to be Jason Voorhees for one kill. And
nice.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of people around, and if you're ad-libbing and stuff and they're loving it, like how is that different than being in front of a crowd?
It's not, well, the way it isn't is because you haven't created that situation. Someone else has created the situation. If you're ad-libbing on a set, if you're a stand-up and you're a good one, you're bringing yourself to it, and you're yourself, and you're view of the world. And then there's joke construction and set construction and this whole arc that you need to take your audience through in a stand-up set that is very different than just sort of saying one funny line.
Sure.
I think.
No, I totally agree. I could never fucking do it. That's for sure. So
it's because you're not funny.
I did some behind the scenes stuff on this movie called The Aristocrats, which is a documentary about some of the greatest stand-ups in history telling the same joke over and over. And it's a great illustration of why the great stand-ups are great, because there's one joke, same setup and same punchline, but 140 different ways of telling it. It's really cool.
It's a great movie, actually.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
That's Gilbert Gottfried does that, right? Like he's one of the big ones that does that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So to stick with you mentioned the Nigerian spam scam.
Yeah.
Michael Joseph would like to know, are you still performing it? And will it ever come back to New York City?
We did a pandemic version. I think it's still on YouTube. I put it up on YouTube. Obviously, we're not now. My wife makes me do it about once a year. So I get out of the house and get to perform in front of people. So once we can do that, I'll probably do it. New York, I don't know. That would be great. But, no. I have a video on demand of it that I need to finish, that I've been telling myself I'm going to finish for a year now, and I'm just too freaking lazy to do it. But I'll be releasing that at some point.
All right.
I hope before the end of the year.
But you said there's a version on YouTube?
There is a version. There's a version on YouTube.
Cool.
I think it's on the Dean Cameron YouTube channel.
That sounds pretty.
My
pretty
300
amazing.
subscribers. Yeah.
How many?
Over 295.
Oh, you're gonna definitely break 300 now after this show.
All right, so let's see. To go back to summer school, we got quite a few at summer school. Kyle Patton, our friend Kyle Patton, he would like to know, what was it like doing a movie with Kirstie Alley, Courtney Thorne-Smith, Shawnee Smith, and Fabiana Udenio, and then have Mark Harmon around to compete with?
Well, I'd worked with Courtney she was on the Fast Times TV show. So I knew Courtney, and Shawnee and I had the same manager. So I knew Shawnee, but she was also, I think she was the only real teenager. So, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and Mark was married, still is, to Pam Dauber. So, but and I'd worked with Kirstie Alley and Mark Harmon the year before in a TV movie. And she was hilarious. Kirstie Alley is wildly fun.
Is that just coincidence that you stayed with them, or is that part of, just the way acting works? You work with certain people routinely.
Well, you try to work with people you like working with, and it just worked out that way. It was nice. It worked out nicely. It is who you know, but it's also if you're able to perform too. So, because the writer was aware of me, and Mark Harmon was aware of me,
and nobody says, well, they were in this together and maybe they had chemistry, but we don't want to put them together again because people won't buy it because they're used to, these people over here. Is that ever an issue? Does it happen? Yeah,
that can happen. Yeah.
All right, I know we're running out of time here with you, Dean, so this is a pretty good question here. Nick Wright would like to know, since you did tend to specialize sort of in the 80s playing an underdog, is there a film that you were in that you think deserves more credit than it might get? And of the roles that you've had, which character is your favorite?
Yeah, the movie I wrote with Pat Laberto, it's called Hollywood Palms. I think I'm really good in that, and it didn't get any attention. I think it's on cable now, and I think it's on YouTube maybe. That I would have liked to have gotten more attention for. And what was the second part? My favorite part?
Yes, the favorite character you played.
I have soft spot for Chainsaw. obviously, and Rockula. Ralph and Rockula was a good one, really nice and a fun one, and then Hollywood Palms, the character I played in that.
So our friend Joe, it sounds like the Hollywood Palms might be the answer to this question. Would that be the movie that you might be most proud of?
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that in a different way. We managed to get a movie made. There's really not a movie I'm most proud of. Yeah.
All right. So one final question here for you, Dean. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Josh Ramsey and I would like to know just how much blow were you doing in the 80s?
Oh, you almost got a spit take off him.
It's funny. I stopped drinking when I was 18, a year after I moved to LA, and only started 4 years ago again. And I just stopped because I realized I drank a lot in high school because I grew up in Oklahoma and there wasn't anything to do but drink. So did that. When I moved to LA, I realized I couldn't keep doing that. So I did not do I've never done cocaine, and I'm really bad at telling when people are high. I can tell drunks like that, but when people are high, I don't know. And I worked with a director who a few years later said, I was on heroin the entire time. So I no idea. Movie came out great, but who knows? So
wow.
Well, that's good to hear, man.
I never saw cocaine around. There were some parties I went to where like it's snowing in the bathrooms. Like, okay, cool, but that's it.
That's good to hear, man. That mean, it was definitely around in the 80s.
So I hear. I did not. A friend of mine who'd never done it and has not done it since. The only time she did it was she was backstage at a Darkness concert, and somebody had cocaine, and she thought, "I'm going to do cocaine. This is the place to do it." So
yeah,
it seems right.
If I'm gonna OD, it's gonna be at the Darkness show.
At the Darkness show, yeah. Yeah.
What did I tell you the other night when you were trying to get me to go out, Bill? I said, if I drink, I want to do cocaine, and I don't want to do cocaine anymore. So
yeah. There you go.
You ex-cocaine users, you guys still seem to miss it and love it. I've never had it either, and I'm probably better that way, knowing me.
The idea of getting really hyper and excited does not appeal to me. I rather just lie down, take a nap. So.
Well, this has been great, Dean. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your time. And do you have anything that you want to plug before we leave?
I would like to pimp. I do a daily web thing with Richard Horvitz from summer school. He's also in Vader Zim and every other animated character, called Some Kind of Joke. We put on Instagram and blah blah and blah blah and blah 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 blah. Some Kind of Joke. It's stupid and a minute and a half of your time every day. So.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah. We'll link to that for sure.
And
right,
DeanCameron.com, correct?
There's DeanCameron.com too. Yes.
Awesome.
All right, you guys.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much.
Be good. Drive fast. Take chances.